Hi, it's Mark back with another Photoshop tutorial, and today we're going to be looking at making a picture like this which features the Angel of the North. The component parts would be to create a parchment type layer, to replicate a tear in that, to empty that out, to put the angel behind, to have the angel break through, and finally at the end of the wing there add a shadow for a little bit more realism. So if that's something you're interested in, stick around and we'll get cracking after the titles. If you want to play along at the same time, I will zip all of these up, I'll put them in a bundle on my website for a free download, and I'll post the link to that download in the comments below. And that's it, let's play those titles. Now when it comes to doing techniques like this, you can go and search, you can Google search for various things and come across things like this, which I have used in the past, which are like pre-formatted tears. And you would just select the one you want, put it on top of your picture, and then select out the colour. So this was an example of one on FreePix, designed by someone with the handle of a vector pouch. So feel free to go and have a look. But we're not actually going to be using that today. We are going to be designing our own shape to tear. And that's what makes this a little bit different. We're going to learn how to do it all by ourselves. Over to our picture, and this is the one we're going to put a layer of paper on top. But I'm just going to do that in a separate document just for now. So let's just go File, New, 3000 by 2000 will do. Just create. We'll do this as a smart object so that in the saved result you can actually go back and alter these to your heart's content. So let's convert this to a smart object first. We're going to call it our paper effect. And let's go back into filter and let's add that noise. About 8 or so, tiny little blur on that. And now we're confident that we go back into any of these. That's what a smart object's done. It just puts a safety wrap around and keeps all the layers separate for replay rather than embed them in, which you'll also hear called destructive. So smart objects make it non-destructive, otherwise these are destructive. So Gaussian blur, 1 pixel would do. Now let's get some filters. I want to go to filter gallery. The first one we want to look at is textures. Let's have a look what they look like. So we've got texturize. So it's very, very patterny, but what we can do is reduce the scaling. And lift up the relief. Still a bit patterny, but that's okay. You can always come back in and you can change this to whatever you want. I prefer sandstone. And let's have a look at the scaling on that. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that, so I'm going to click OK. And then let's add another one. Filter gallery. There it is. And that adds a little bit more grain. I'm just going to stick with that. And click OK. Right, so we've got something which got a little bit there, possibly a change of a bit of colour. So let's put a hue saturation on there, and let's change the let's colorize it. Take it down to something parchment-y colour. Add a little bit of yellow in there. Bring up the saturation so we can see a bit better. Okay, I'm quite happy with that, and that's going to be the paper we're going to use. So for now, I'm just going to go Control Option Shift and E, or Command Alt Shift and E, and that gives us a stamp layer, a stamp visible layer. Can't spell stamp, can I? All right, and I'm going to drag that up onto our tear and share and drop it in place. And there's our paper. Control T and resize it to fit a document. hold the shift key down while we pull this one down, and there we've got that in place. And that's our paper texture. Bear with me while I Control S or Command S to save this onto my desktop, and we'll call it our paper. And that will be included with the filters and such already applied in the bundle that you can download to get rid of that. Alright, so we've now got a bit of paper. What are we going to do with that bit of paper? Well, the first thing we want to do, I guess, is we want to tear something out of it. So let's just do a basic tear straight away. So let's get our lasso tool, L for lasso tool. It might not be on the right tool within the L group, so if it isn't, just go right click and select it, and let's just a tear around the angel. Now, to create a tear on the angel, it would be helpful if we could see what we're doing. So let's lower the opacity, and I'm going to tear this something like that. It does not really matter. And I'm going to put a mask on that and bring the opacity back up. Of course, the mask is the wrong way around, so we'll just click on it and go Command I or Control I on a PC to invert it. And that's roughly our tear. Of course, you could change it. You could actually bring it close to the edges and make it like a tear border. Or you could just do a strip down, whatever. Doesn't really matter what shape I've picked. It's the technique from now on. Obviously, this is really rough. We want to actually make it look more like a tear with edges and little mini tears on that. And that's what we're going to address next. So essentially, to make this a bit more 3D, we want to replicate this and actually transform it slightly. Bring it in a little bit so you can actually see there's like a step down. So that's what we'll do. So let's duplicate that, call this one paper, call this one inner tear, and to differentiate the two, what I want to do is I'm going to put a change of colour onto the top paper. So you can use hue, saturation levels, curves, whatever. I'm just going to use this and darken the paper a bit to there, and then I'm going to clip that so it's purely on this layer and not the rest of the picture. Let's come back down to our tear, and I said we wanted to make this a little smaller. So if we go Command T and then we move this in, so drag it in. You can see how we can bring it in from that side. Possibly a touch from that. The idea is not the same from all sides, and a bit more from the top. So this time I want to hold Shift as I bring that down. And there, for now, is our tear, and it stands out because it is lighter. And that would be the case if you've got some coloured parchment. I just ripped through it where the dyes have not gone through. Sometimes the paper is a bit lighter. Okay, let's add a little bit of a shadow to this. We'll go for a drop shadow. Actually, I'm quite happy with exactly where they are, so that's quite opaque. Of course, if you did that, you make it look really like it's stepped behind, like decoupage. In fact, I've seen this technique used before, where instead of tears, where you've got, let's say, a shape of a duck, then a shape of a pond, then a shape of, and you put them as layers one in front of each other, but on each one you add the drop shadow, and it looks like you've layered the paper, which is a technique called decoupage. Possibly something for a future video. Anyway, I want to just take it down to about 50 or so. Distance and sizes. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that, possibly a little less. And click OK. Now, that's still not a rough edge. Let's blow this up. And what we want to do is I'm going to click on the mask here and apply a filter. And that filter is the filter gallery, and it's going to splatter the edges a little bit. I don't know why this was called what it was called, but under brush strokes there's a thing called splatter. Sorry, I don't know why it was called. There's a thing called spatter, which I didn't really know what that was. I thought it was just short for splatter, and you can see the effect on the edges here as we change the spray radius. Okay, possibly it's a combination of spray and splatter, I don't know. But you can see how we can actually change the radius. I'm going to cancel that. And if I had been on that, and in order to show you this, if I'd been on the actual layer and we'd gone filter gallery, you wouldn't have seen the edges. It literally is the whole thing. You wouldn't have seen the spatter or splatter effect. So that's why we went over to the actual mask, filter gallery, spatter, and let's take its smoothness out. I don't want it to be too smooth. Oh, I don't know. Let's have a go. And the radius a bit more. And let's just click OK on that. So that's the inner one. And of course the same thing would happen on the outer one. So let's click on a paper, select the mask, and go filter gallery. It should bring up the same ones we had before. So what I want to do here is I want to take the radius down a bit and possibly drop the smoothness and click OK. I just want it to be a bit different. And here we've got a bit of a ragged edge there and a ragged edge there. Now let's zoom back out. Control minus, and that's kind of getting there. And it's tinkering around with these values that actually produces it. I now think the drop shadow is a bit too harsh, so I'll double click on our drop shadow, and I want to take the opacity down a bit further. Okay, in a lot of my videos I show you the tools and techniques. I don't necessarily work on it and get it perfect. That's for you to play with, and there's no fun in watching me mess on for ages. That's how it works. That's how you separate the two layers. They are what you do on the edges and so on. So that is how you do this particular picture. Now you could choose to have, as I've mentioned earlier, I think, a rectangular-ish tone border and make it look that way. You could invert it so it looks like the paper you're on has your painting on, and then it tears off to the background. There are numerous ways you can actually dress that. But the final thing I want to do is to bring this wing out. And so that's what we'll do next. So if I just switch off these layers, well actually before we do that, let's just stick those in a group. Okay, so switch off these layers, got our angel, W for our select tool, and just grab a selection of the wing. There we go. And what we want to do now is put a layer mask on our group, the other way around, Control I, and it has the wing coming through. It's as simple as that. All it remains us to do now is add a drop shadow around the wing. Several ways of which to do that, but what I'm just going to do is just going to reselect part of the wing, just so it's there. Control J, stick it on top, double click, add a drop shadow, make it a little bit more prevalent. There we go, something like that, and that's it. We've done a paper, we've done a cutout. We've added the angel, we've broken the angel through, and we've added a drop shadow. I think I will leave it there. There's plenty for you to work on. The files that will be included in the zip are the picture of this angel and this PSD for the paper we've created, albeit I'd encourage you to actually create your own as we go along. The paper we've created will not come with a hole. That is for you to do. So you'll have your resources there ready to crack on. If you've liked this, please consider clicking on subscribe. Once I get to 100 and such subscribers, my channel stops being called, as a link anyway, it stops being called YouTube/XY123 dash hyphen whatever, and I can get to call it YouTube/Mark's channel or something. But they only let me do that once I beat 100 subscribers. Oh, so we're getting close. Right, I'm going. That's it. Time for a coffee, and let me know what you think. Bye for now.